There's a lot of phenomena going on having to do with people moving back to cities, but there's one single device that you all know, that you probably all have in your pocket, that actually triggered a big bunch of these changes. We all used to carry this stuff around with us, and now there's an app for that. Yes, this iPhone is now way old. But what's interesting and doesn't get much attention is the many different ways in which this technology has already disrupted transportation. And obviously there's more to come if you think about it broadly. But think about the destruction of trips. How many of you still go to a bank physically more than once or twice a year? Okay, a few of you. Most of you don't, right? Most of you do your banking online through PayPal, through credit cards. You don't actually have to go to a bank. You don't have to see a teller. Same thing for dating. People used to do drive-thrus to see a movie. Now it's online. How many of you go to a Blockbuster still and go collect a VHS tape and watch that in your VCR? That's all online, right? Netflix is booming, reported great financial results. So that's one. The social dynamics have shifted. Car ownership went from being a status symbol, a rite of passage that you're becoming an adult, to actually being a hassle. I taught graduate students at Stanford. They're all in their early to mid-20s. All of them got given a car by their parents, many of them a nice car, Prius, BMW, you name it. All of them sold their car because it's no longer something that's of value to them. And by the way, a couple of them have a $1,000 a month Uber bill. So it's not as if these people aren't going anywhere, it's just they don't want to do it by car ownership. Of course, we're used to the fact that that app now accesses transportation. Caltrain's a little bit behind, you can't quite book that on an app yet, but your Uber and your taxi and many other things. I was just in Japan last week, and you can book everything on the Pasmo app on your phone, right? You can book your taxi, you can pay at the 7-Eleven, you can get on any subway. It's all very straightforward and easy. And then there's the components. Those phones were the pioneers of the lithium-ion battery technology that has crossed over first into power tools and now in the last couple of years into electric vehicles, right? That's where they came from. That's why they came down the cost curve, because we shipped 700 million phones every year, and that made it a big enough market to invest in. So that's component disruption. What we haven't yet really realized is how much the cameras that are now ubiquitous on all phones are also crossing over into vehicles and changing the way that we do autonomous driving. Camera performance is on an amazing curve. There's a big race going on right now between LiDAR and cameras. Long term, I would bet on cameras, but near term, I would still only get in an autonomous car that has LiDAR in it. So there's a ways to go, but it's definitely improving at a rate that's driven by mobile phones. So think about that. A little innocuous device that we all take for granted in the meantime is actually disrupting a gigantic industry that's 10–15% of most major industrial economies in terms of transportation and vehicles. It's huge. I also said it already shows up demographically. This is the increase in vehicle miles traveled per capita. You can see we're driving longer into old age, which has its own risks, because above 72 you start driving poorly again statistically. But you can see the younger demographic, which is bigger, isn't driving as much. In fact, we've seen a 30% reduction in people getting driver's licenses. If you think about that relative to your childhood, where getting a driver's license was a big deal, now people are saying, I don't need a driver's license.